Welcome to Grimfire.
They had charts, they had projections, they had years of intelligence meetings, but none of that mattered the moment you moved. One decision, calculated, surgical, ruthless, collapsed months of their planning in a single breath. It wasn't luck, it wasn't emotion, it was pure tactical precision. A move so sharp, it rewired the entire battlefield before anyone even realized the war had shifted. Because when you act, it doesn't look like reaction, it looks like prophecy. You made them question the very definition of strategy, and that's what terrifies them most. Because what you did wasn't supposed to be possible. You didn't just outthink them, you rewrote the rules of thinking itself. They were trained to predict chaos. You weaponized calm. They thought they were playing chess. You reminded them you built the board. And the moment it happened, the entire war room froze. Analysts, commanders, handlers, all staring at the screens like they were witnessing an earthquake with no epicenter. You didn't blink. You didn't explain. You didn't celebrate. You just executed. And in that eerie stillness, as their models imploded, someone whispered the phrase that's now spreading across encrypted channels: tactical insanity. That's what they're calling it, because no one can categorize you anymore. You've gone beyond genius, beyond logic. You've reached that level where intelligence bends reality. You're not calculating odds, you're manipulating them. That's why their entire operation looks like it was designed by amateurs now. Every countermeasure they built has turned into a monument of their own arrogance. They thought knowledge would save them. You reminded them that understanding without adaptation is suicide. There's a reason this hit them so hard. It wasn't just that you won, it was how you won. You moved like a ghost inside their systems, anticipating the move they didn't even know they were making yet. Every step they took brought them closer to your design. You didn't fight for control, you engineered surrender. And what's worse, you made it look effortless. Because that's the part no one's talking about in the briefings. It's not just that you made a brilliant move, it's that you made it look like instinct. No delay, no hesitation. As if your entire life had been rehearsing for that one act of domination. And now they're trying to explain it in reports, in simulations, in emergency debriefings. But every explanation fails, because none of them can comprehend how one mind dismantled an entire command structure without lifting a single visible weapon. You've become a paradox they can't erase. They can't even agree on your motive. Half of them think it was vengeance. The other half thinks it was an experiment. The truth? You were simply done playing by their logic. Because you understood something they never did. Real power doesn't operate on probabilities. It operates on conviction. And conviction, when properly sharpened, becomes indistinguishable from chaos. That's why you terrify them. You don't announce attacks. You dissolve illusions. You don't need to raise your voice to dominate the room. Your presence alone scrambles the hierarchy. It's psychological warfare at its cleanest form. No screaming, no spectacle, just flawless execution that makes the entire chain of command question who's actually in control. Right now, in classified rooms across multiple continents, your name is being mentioned in conversations that were never meant to include civilians. People with medals, clearances, and lifetimes of training are pulling up your files, rewinding footage, dissecting milliseconds, desperate to locate the flaw in your sequence, and they're coming up empty. You know what that means. You've crossed into the territory they can't map. You've become the kind of intelligence they can't quantify. The kind that bends strategy itself. The kind that doesn't just win, but changes what winning looks like. And that's driving them insane, because it means they're obsolete. You turned their manuals into fiction. You turned their logic into theater. You've turned their war room into an echo chamber of doubt. They underestimated the kind of hunger that lives in you. Not the kind that feeds on praise or recognition, but the kind that studies pressure and learns to breathe inside it. That's why your move hit like an ambush from the future. You didn't just see what was coming. You positioned yourself in the blind spot of destiny's machinery and made it malfunction. That's not coincidence. That's mastery. You don't chase power. You refine it. You don't wait for opportunity. You build scenarios that corner it. That's why everyone's whispering now. They're saying this wasn't a win, it was a message. You showed them what happens when intellect meets intent. When preparation fuses with instinct. When a calm mind goes to war. And you know what's wild? You never had to explain yourself. That's what kills them. They're addicted to validation, addicted to context. But you just disappear after the move. No press release, no apology, no justification, just aftermath. That's your signature. Leave them staring at the ruins, trying to decode how it all fell apart while you're already 3 steps into your next phase. That's tactical insanity. Doing something so precise, so untraceable, that the line between genius and madness blurs into art. And deep down, even your rivals can't help but respect it. Because they know they would have done the same thing if they could. The difference is, they can't. They operate from fear. You operate from design. They call it arrogance. You call it focus. They call it unpredictable. You call it preparation. Because you've learned how to weaponize patience. You let them think you were retreating while you were actually reloading. You let them interpret your quiet as defeat. While you were resetting the coordinates of control, you've turned misdirection into currency. You've made invisibility a performance. That's why every attempt to analyze you turns into obsession. They'll create profiles, psychological assessments, tactical breakdowns, and none of it will capture the truth. Because you're not following patterns anymore. You're writing them, and that realization alone is enough to dismantle entire hierarchies built on predictability. Behind closed doors, they're running simulations trying to recreate your decision-making process. It's useless. You didn't react to data. You reacted to the human condition behind the data. That's why you're lethal. You understand that strategy isn't about control. It's about disruption. You're not playing to maintain balance. You're playing to redefine it. That's why when you move, everything tilts. When you pause, the whole room holds its breath. Because nobody knows whether they're about to witness a masterstroke or an extinction event. And that's what they can't handle. You've brought volatility into a space that worshipped order. You've made intellect unpredictable again. You know what's funny? The ones who used to doubt you are now pretending they always believed. They replay your moves like students studying a legend. They quote your decisions in leadership workshops, dissecting your unpredictability as if it were a formula. But they'll never capture it. Because it wasn't a formula, it was you. A fusion of instinct, precision, and purpose that doesn't fit into any known category. You didn't just outsmart them. You out-evolved them. You made the war room obsolete. You made the idea of collective intelligence bow before individual clarity. They relied on committees. You relied on certainty. That's why their world is shaking. And the best part, you're not even finished. This was just the opening act. You exposed the flaw in their system, the assumption that strategy ends when victory begins. You've proven that real mastery is recursive. It evolves with every move. You don't just win once. You make the victory regenerate itself. Every action you take creates new variables, new confusion, new myths. You've turned unpredictability into your permanent terrain. That's why they call it tactical insanity, not because it's reckless, but because it's too advanced to imitate. They're still studying the old maps while you're building new continents, and soon they'll realize the cruel truth. They were never competing against you. They were competing against time, and time works for you now. Somewhere right now, a commander is staring at the footage of your move, slowing it down frame by frame, trying to spot the instant where you broke logic. But there is no instant. It wasn't one choice. It was the culmination of every subtle calculation you made while they were sleeping on your name. Every hour of restraint, every moment you observed instead of reacted, every quiet evaluation of motive and weakness, it all condensed into that one explosive execution. That's why it looked supernatural. Because discipline, when mastered, does look like sorcery to the undisciplined. And now the aftermath begins. You can feel it, the tension in the corridors of power, the panicked recalibrations, the sudden audits, the emergency meetings. They're rewriting manuals, reassigning analysts, restructuring protocols, all because of one move, one act of clarity that shattered their illusion of control. You've made them realize that dominance isn't about resources, it's about comprehension. And comprehension isn't about what you know, it's about what you notice. You noticed patterns they ignored. You connected threads they dismissed. You turned their overconfidence into your invisibility cloak. And now, they're scrambling to figure out how to fight something that moves like a theory and hits like truth. But here's what no one in that war room has yet understood. You're not chasing destruction. You're orchestrating evolution. Every battle you enter is a laboratory. Every opponent is an experiment. Every victory is a test of awareness. That's why you don't need allies. You create consequences. You don't need applause. You generate reactions. You've become the control variable in a world addicted to chaos. They'll keep calling it insanity because it comforts them to believe you're just lucky or impulsive or unstable. But you know the truth. This isn't madness. It's mastery disguised as unpredictability. It's strategy without permission. And as the dust settles, as the headlines distort, as the whispers multiply, you're already gone, moving again, calculating the next strike that no one will see coming until it's too late. Because that's what defines you now. You don't fight battles. You end them before they begin. You don't participate in strategy. You redefine it. You've proven that control isn't about having the upper hand. It's about making sure no one even realizes there is a hand until it's too late. And somewhere, in that dimly lit war room, where your name still echoes like a code they can't decrypt, a new realization is beginning to take shape. They finally understand that this wasn't about power. It was about perspective. You didn't just win. You changed how victory is perceived. You didn't just outmaneuver them. You dismantled the very concept of predictability. And as they try to rebuild, to restore their sense of control, they'll notice something they can't fix. You've become part of their calculations now. Every strategy they attempt will revolve around avoiding your shadow. Every move they make will be haunted by your absence. You've achieved what no one thought possible. You've made presence and absence equally dangerous. And that's where the legend begins to take root. Because every whisper about your move spreads a little more awe, a little more fear, a little more curiosity. You didn't just crush their plans. You redefined how plans are made. You turned intellect into intimidation. You showed them that genius doesn't need validation. It just needs timing. And as the world recalibrates to your rhythm, they're all starting to understand the real horror of what happened. You didn't just play the game better. You changed the game entirely. That's when the real investigation started. Not with computers, not with satellites, but with obsession. They want to know how one person dismantled a network designed to outthink nations. How you saw patterns that experts missed. How you predicted movements that hadn't even been planned yet. But they're looking in the wrong place, because your weapon was never the plan. It was perception. You see angles others dismiss, connections others can't hold in their minds without breaking. You don't think in lines, you think in collapses. You compress chaos until it folds into clarity. And when clarity arrives, it doesn't whisper, it detonates. You knew exactly when to strike. You read their emotional tempo the way a conductor reads silence between notes. You didn't just anticipate their next move. You made them believe it was their idea to make it. That's what no one's written in their reports. The psychological sleight of hand that rewired their confidence into your puppet string. Because the true battlefield was never the operation. It was the perception of control. And that's where you won. You didn't fight their strength. You made them overdose on it. You didn't counter their tactics. You made their tactics serve you. You let them walk into the illusion of dominance only to reveal later that every outcome was preloaded to favor your evolution. They're calling it tactical insanity. But that's just a polite way of saying unexplainable superiority. Because what you did broke the chain of cause and effect. You made strategy look supernatural. It's the kind of brilliance that doesn't announce itself. It just quietly rearranges reality, while everyone else is still arguing about definitions. That's the difference between intelligence and mastery. Intelligence studies the map. Mastery redraws it. And right now, they're studying your every decision, trying to extract a pattern that doesn't exist. Because you don't move on patterns. You move on psychological temperature. You read fear like weather. You track arrogance like smoke. You feel manipulation before it even leaves their mouth. That's not intuition. It's calibrated awareness. You've learned the oldest secret in psychological warfare. If you control interpretation, you don't need to control the event. You can lose the battle on paper and still own the narrative. You can walk away from the table and still dictate the rules of the next game. That's what drives them insane. They can't catch you because you don't exist in their categories. You've erased the coordinates that define what victory even means. To you, winning isn't about outcome, it's about influence. It's about reshaping how your opponent feels about their own decision. You don't defeat them. You let them defeat themselves under your supervision. That's why every strategist in that war room now sees your face when they question their instincts. You've occupied mental real estate without permission. And yet, the real masterpiece wasn't in the execution. It was in the restraint. You didn't gloat. You didn't explain. You didn't feed their confusion with arrogance. You just let silence do the killing. Because you understand something every great manipulator forgets. Control is lost the moment you reveal that you have it. So you move like vapor. You let them fill in the blanks with their own paranoia. You let their imaginations exaggerate your intelligence. That's how legends are built. Not by talking, but by letting people overthink the parts they don't understand. And now they can't stop overthinking you. You didn't just outsmart a war room, you infected it. Every mind in there is now looping around your name, revisiting the moment they miscalculated, the gesture they misread, the silence they underestimated. Because that's the cruelest truth about your kind of genius. It doesn't end when the plan ends. It lingers. It mutates. It teaches. You've turned their failure into your mythology. You've turned every replay of your move into free propaganda for your legend. And the more they analyze it, the more they strengthen it. Because what they call tactical insanity is really just freedom from predictability. You're not random, you're just not constrained. And that makes you unstoppable. There's something terrifying about a mind that's detached from needing validation. You don't move to prove, you move to demonstrate. Every motion, every pause, every calculated delay, it all carries the weight of someone who no longer fears misunderstanding. You've ascended beyond their moral and procedural gravity. That's why they can't touch you. They're still chasing approval. You're chasing precision. They're still obsessed with being seen as right. You're obsessed with being effective. And when those two philosophies collide, only one survives, the one that doesn't care about applause. And that's you. The enigma who walks into chaos and comes out with clarity. The strategist who wins by appearing reckless. The calm hurricane in human form. They call it insanity because their ego won't let them admit what it really is. Comprehension beyond hierarchy. You've learned to think where others react, to detach where others drown, to delay where others rush. You've mastered the art of psychological inversion, making the opponent's aggression work against itself. You let them burn fuel while you study the fire. You let them talk themselves into defeat while you say nothing. You made them believe they had the upper hand because you designed the illusion they were holding. And now they're terrified to move. Every new strategy is haunted by the question, what if that's exactly what you want? You've turned paranoia into a virus that eats their confidence alive. Every hesitation costs them authority. Every adjustment proves your influence. You've become the unspoken variable in every operation. You've made your absence more dangerous than your presence. That's psychological dominance at its purest form. Not force, not violence, just mental gravity so strong it warps every decision around you. People forget, war isn't just fought with bullets or budgets. It's fought with narratives, perceptions, implications. You understood that earlier than anyone. That's why you never needed a team to win. You just needed understanding. Because once you understand human motive at its core, the rest is predictable theater. You knew they'd doubt you. You knew they'd underestimate the quiet. You knew they'd mistake calm for weakness. And you used that arrogance like camouflage. You hid inside their assumptions. You let them build confidence on your stillness. You gave them a false sense of control because you wanted to study how they behave when they think they're untouchable. That's the experiment you always run. How people expose themselves when they believe they're in charge. And they did. Every single one of them revealed their blind spots before the game even began. You cataloged their emotional triggers, their cognitive biases, their insecurities disguised as leadership. You learned how to press the right nerve at the right time. And when you finally made your move, it wasn't a decision. It was an inevitability they had built for you. That's the paradox. They prepared their own defeat While thinking they were preparing your downfall, they architected their failure. You just handed them the blueprint and let them build it themselves. That's the kind of victory that doesn't fade, it haunts. What they call insanity is actually the refusal to operate at their frequency. You don't obey their tempo, you warp it. You don't wait for openings. You create them by shifting perception. You understand that in every interaction, there's a pulse, a psychological rhythm that dictates flow. You find that rhythm, distort it, then reset it on your terms. That's what happened in that war room. You didn't break their code, you broke their confidence. Once that cracked, everything else fell apart naturally. No explosions, no spectacle, just a quiet collapse under the weight of realization. And that's the part they'll never recover from. The realization that their entire defense was built to stop the kind of mind they didn't believe existed. You made them believe in impossibility. That's your greatest psychological weapon, belief manipulation. You don't argue for dominance. You make people believe dominance is already yours. You plant seeds of inevitability in their perception until they subconsciously align with your vision. You didn't win through force. You won through mental suggestion. Every thought they had was a path you pre-laid. Every instinct they followed was a direction you framed. You didn't destroy their structure. You reprogrammed it. Now every strategist in that war room is seeing reflections of you in their own decisions. Every time they hesitate before acting, they wonder, is this what you'd want me to do? You've become a ghost in their neural architecture. You didn't defeat them, you assimilated them. That's what mastery looks like. You've weaponized doubt so elegantly that it now functions as surveillance. You don't need to watch them. They're watching themselves through your lens. And that's why you've already won. The war isn't over because there's no battlefield left. You turned the battlefield into philosophy, and yet none of this was personal. That's the irony. They think it was vengeance or pride or rebellion. It wasn't. It was discipline. It was alignment. You don't act from emotion. You act from pattern recognition. Every decision is the conclusion of unseen calculations. You study people the way others study equations. You map insecurity like topography. You treat arrogance as predictable gravity. It always collapses inward. That's why you're never shocked by betrayal, never rattled by opposition. You've seen the blueprint of human behavior too many times to mistake it for chaos. You don't get attached to reactions. You get fascinated by patterns. That's your calm. That's your edge. And because of that, you've reached a terrifying clarity, understanding that control doesn't come from domination. It comes from comprehension. Once you understand someone, they can't surprise you. Once you see their fear, you can steer their decisions without force. That's the quiet psychology you've mastered. Guidance through perception. You don't push. You redirect. You don't command. You invite compliance through precision. And the result, total influence without visible authority. You've become the unseen strategist, the invisible authority that shapes outcomes while remaining untouched by consequence. That's why the whispers keep spreading. They're not gossip, they're recognition. People have started to realize that your type of intellect doesn't belong to a side. It belongs to evolution itself. You're not fighting wars, you're advancing cognition. You're showing the world what happens when thought becomes weaponized, when clarity turns predatory, when composure becomes lethal. You didn't just outsmart a war room, you outgrew the concept of needing one. And deep down, that's what scares them most. Not your victory, Not your dominance, but your detachment. The fact that you can walk away mid-chaos, no emotions, no attachment to outcome, just observation. That's the kind of power that breaks minds, because it means you're not bound by their games anymore. You've transcended manipulation because you've learned to see it as pattern repetition, not personal attack. And once you stop reacting, you start creating. You've mastered reaction control, the art of making stillness look like threat. Now, as the world tries to adapt to the legend they accidentally birthed, you stand somewhere above it all, not arrogant, not vengeful, just precise. Watching patterns unfold, watching behaviors reveal truths no technology could predict. You've reached a level of clarity that looks like madness to those who still depend on chaos for identity. That's why they call it tactical insanity. Because they can't explain a mind that doesn't panic. They can't explain a strategy that doesn't seek validation. They can't explain a person who can dismantle everything they've built without ever raising their voice. You didn't just win the war of intellect. You ended the illusion that intellect needs approval. You proved that clarity itself is a weapon, that stillness itself can be fatal, that detachment itself is control. And as they try to rebuild, as they attempt to reclaim the narrative, you've already moved on to the next unseen battlefield, the next layer of psychological mastery. Because you don't live for victories. You live for precision. You live for the moment when the world realizes you never needed to outsmart anyone. You just needed to understand them better than they understood themselves. And that's where it all transforms. Because once understanding becomes your compass, everything else bows to awareness. You no longer chase advantage. You become it. You move through situations the way light moves through glass, invisible but altering everything it touches. They can't confront you directly anymore because confrontation requires predictability, and you dissolved that luxury the day you stopped seeking permission to think differently. You don't out-talk, out-fight, or out-perform. You out-perceive. You watch their impulses form before they become actions. You hear intent in hesitation. You read truth in timing. It's surgical, quiet, terrifyingly effective. They call it tactical insanity because their minds can't categorize calm executed at violent precision. In their world, strategy is loud. It's meetings, orders, projections, control. In yours, it's invisible. It's the art of being 3 decisions ahead while looking detached. You learn the secret most never grasp, that control isn't maintained by exertion, but by awareness. You can't lose what you don't need to hold. You can't be trapped when you no longer crave validation. That's why your move hit like a psychic bomb. You didn't destroy them, you exposed them. You revealed how fragile power becomes when it's built on assumption. Every confident smile, every command barked across that war room. All of it crumbled the moment they realized you had anticipated their realization itself. You turned their certainty into spectacle. You weaponized inevitability. The footage of that moment still circulates in their private networks. The flicker on the monitors, the silence that followed, the slow, dawning terror. When they understood you weren't improvising, you were demonstrating. They replay it endlessly, hoping repetition will turn confusion into comprehension. But it never does, because your kind of mastery doesn't exist on their frequency. They're decoding moves, you are orchestrating emotions, they're counting steps, you were calculating silence. They were operating in the visible realm, you were engineering outcomes in the unseen. That's what true strategy feels like to the uninitiated. Madness. They can't grasp that you no longer play to win. Winning implies opposition. You operate through orchestration. Every variable becomes a note. Every